Welcome to the downside. My name is Gianmarco Soresi. I haven't seen my co-host in a while, and we haven't even talked. We haven't even had a good check-in. So
No,
it's
we
one of
haven't.
those where we're figuring out.
Things were not good for you the last time I tried to get a hold of you, and I was trying to call you multiple times.
Which is
Rare, so I knew things were really bad.
Russell was checking in on me.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you used my apartment for a business meeting, and I was so scared. I was so scared because I knew when you came here, you had to go downstairs unassisted. And I was like, I don't know. Last time Russell went downstairs, he almost ruined his Broadway debut.
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened was we were in tech, and my position in tech, we had like a station set up in the mezzanine, and the wardrobe came and they're like, "Can you try on this costume for this small cameo part that I do sometimes?" Tried it on, and it's just a suit, with new shoes. And I came back to my station in the mezzanine, and I fell down the entire mezzanine stairs. I fell down like not the entire mezzanine. I fell down 4 or 5 stairs. I don't know how it happened. I literally just was walking downstairs, fell, and it happened for so long. And when you think that this feels like it's happening for a long time, and it's about to end, and it keeps falling. I confirmed with the other standby who saw it happen. He was like, "Yeah, it was happening for a long time."
It was like a Chevy Chase
he
pratfall.
kept thinking it was done, and I'd be like. I kept being like, okay, good. I didn't hurt myself. Whoa. I kept thinking I was done, and I didn't break anything. And
You were like Will Ferrell in Austin Powers, where he goes like, "I'm okay, I'm safe," and then more and more things happen. By the way, you're allowed to exaggerate it. You can say 3 flights. If Hassan Minaj can get away with it,
God.
you get to say whatever you want.
So I stood up and I was like, feel great, actually. I was like, nothing hurts. My thumb hurt a little bit, but I was like, no, I feel amazing.
Were you saying it out loud, to prove to everyone that you're like, I'm good?
It's adrenaline.
I'm fine.
The other standby was like, yeah. He's like, you okay? And I was like, I feel fine. I feel great, actually, great.
I feel better.
I'm like,
That's
better.
all good.
Yeah. So I then 2 hours later I could not bend my knee. It was like so swollen and tight. So luckily it happened at a nighttime thing, and then I had 2 full days off right after.
Did you tell anyone? Did you say to any, or did you silence? Did you say to them, "Don't say a word"?
No.
I'm fine.
Well, okay.
Everyone heard it.
The only one who saw it was Brad, the sound or lighting guy, and
no one will believe
and
Brad.
Sam, the other standby. They saw it. They checked in, and then I did tell stage management because I was like, it was bad enough. Well, I thought I was scot-free, and then I couldn't bend my leg when I was leaving, so I told them and did a report. But I had 2 full days. I rested, I elevated, I iced, and then I got this brace, and it feels a lot better. It definitely is not it's definitely tender. It's definitely
Well, yeah, sure. I mean,
definitely.
that's expected.
It was it's been only a week though, so it's relatively new.
Did you?
And
was
what's crazy is in our show there were so many stairs, and
So
you
many.
never ever
Never.
fell down.
And other people did.
Everyone did except for you.
Yeah, never fell down. I almost did one time, but I never like that though.
Well, let me introduce our guest.
Oh yeah.
So everyone knows,
We're already talking.
musical theater star, performer,
Oh, God.
writer, Marla Mindelle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
I-
having me.
I feel like we should. I feel like Joe Rogan. He has episodes of his
Oh.
podcast where he talks about MMA. And if you like Joe Rogan, you don't like MMA. It's tough. This podcast, we don't talk about MMA.
Do you
But
listen to Joe Rogan?
No, but I'm saying I know the sphere. I know the world.
Okay.
I'm saying this podcast instead of MMA. There's some episodes where it's like, if you don't like musical theater,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a tough slog.
Yeah.
This is not gonna be. There's gonna be a lot of musical theater talk today.
I was actually, can I say, I was so nervous, and I spoke to Russell. I was like, hey, I'm really nervous because he seems really straight. And Russell was like, don't worry, he's actually he's like a secret theater nerd. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I have an ally. Thank God.
Yeah.
So now I feel completely at ease.
Wait, Marla.
She was worried that
you've
this
been in-
podcast was going to be too straight.
You've been in theater way too long. If I'm really straight.
To me, I know. Everyone in my life is some form of gay or so straight that they're almost. I don't know. But anyway, I'm so relieved.
And that's why it felt when I would go to musical theater camps growing up in high school, and I would be on the straight end of the spectrum in that world, and I go to high school, and I might as well be gay. Like, it was just like I
exactly.
experienced
Yeah.
both worlds.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And didn't fit into either.
Yeah.
This is the downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
This is the downside. This is a place where people can feel free to complain, kvetch, bitch, moan, be negative. We celebrate negativity here. If you're a fan, join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. Bonus episodes, live episodes, my comedy special, The Rats Are In Me. Speaking of musical theater, I have theater kids that come out to the shows, and someone was there last night in Bloomington and said they were in Margaritaville, the musical.
Oh,
and they
my
and,
God.
and they I made some
On
joke of-
Broadway?
no, like
Oh.
Bloomington. And
Regional production of Margaritaville.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's success.
And I said like, "Oh, is that Sondheim?" And it was so funny. There were 2 people that got it in the whole room, but I was like,
Oh.
God.
Oh, Indiana was like,
dream-
Yeah.
I dream of the day where I can have like a real. When I opened for Bianca, that was like one of these moments where I was like, "Oh, I could make a Sondheim joke and everyone
Oh,
in the
every single
venue
person.
Yeah.
would know it."
Yeah.
But this, they did not. They did not.
We do.
know it.
We're here as your fans and supporters today.
Thank you.
we really get it.
You're in a safe space. I'm very happy to have you on the show. I'm happy you made your Broadway debut.
yes.
I mean, you feel in your mind? Are you like preview doesn't count, or do you feel like
No, I was on a Broadway.
It counts.
It counts. I did a small
you
part
could
in a
go
Broadway
on
show.
cruises now, and they would bill you as
Right.
Broadway's Russell
Broadway.
Daniels.
Yes. Everyone in my life will label
I know
me
that
way.
Broadway credit opens up some cruise opportunities, right?
Absolutely. And not for me. I still have yet to be on a cruise in general in my life.
But have you wanted to? Have you,
Absolutely never.
I
in
know, that's
my
what I'm
life
saying.
Because
you could do it in a second, Marla.
I would rather eat rats inside of me. Plug for you.
Thank you.
No, I have, as you know, maybe you didn't know this about me, but I have hardcore vomit phobia. And so,
no,
like,
I know.
cruises,
Oh, I know.
for me, I will just stay. I will stay in
It's not like
ocean
everyone's
away.
vomiting constantly.
No, I
on
know,
a
but there's
cruise.
like a fear that it could happen. You know what I mean? Like it's like a triangle of sadness kind of moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
That is my
Did
greatest
you watch
fear.
that movie?
Absolutely
No,
not. No,
yeah.
I won't watch anything. I can't do it. I can't do it.
What happens?
What happens is that it's like it's like OCD. I replay it over and over in my mind, and I just can't stop thinking about it. It's really, really bad. It's because when I was 4 years old, my sister was like the devil incarnate, and she would run around the house and she would chase me and she would scream hot dog vomit," because I watched a hot dog eating competition and I thought it was so disgusting. And I think that's the moment. I know you're grabbing you're clutching your literal
I'm about to
pearls.
get a phobia soon too.
There's something. It just did something to me, and now I am forever tainted.
But it wasn't even seeing throw up. It was just your sister
Well,
saying,
he was eating so many, and I feel like he lurched. I was young, and so I feel
Yeah.
like there's nothing worse than a food competition. I don't watch those either. Anyway,
Yeah.
So if you were with a woman and she was throwing up and a friend or
I've
lover,
told
would
my
you?
partner. No, I said I will. If you lose your limb, I will be there. I will stand by. I will watch you bleed out. If you vomit, I will throw you out onto the street, and somebody else has to take care of you. I don't care. Go to the hospital.
Can you? Is it just seeing it or hearing it too?
Both
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Both things. I will run out of the room.
Yeah. I have a really
you-
bad. I have a bad gag reflex
Oh, I
in
know
terms
this
of
about
like
you. Didn't you almost?
of like if I see like okay, so like sinks are hard for me. Sinks like when you're doing dishes and like the bottom.
Sinks in general.
know, it's
yeah,
like-
yeah,
like-
yeah.
You
Full
know,
of
there's stuff in the
trash,
bottom there.
garbage.
That thing.
some like egg like
Yeah.
Listen,
junk.
so I can do it. I gag. It comes easily, but it doesn't produce vomit. But I can gag quite easily, and if it starts happening, it's hard to stop it.
Yeah.
What was the last time you threw up?
When I was 29 years old, from Bad Sushi, backstage at Cinderella. I know, that's the last time. That was now 10 years ago. I'm aging myself. 10 years ago, I'm like, something's up. We're teching Cinderella. Anne Harada I'm like, I really don't feel well. And Anne Harada starts talking about the time that she got food poisoning, and I ran backstage.
No.
And then I projectile vomited into a bucket. And to this day, I have no idea what happened to that bucket. I don't know if somebody threw it out. I don't know if somebody saw it. I don't know if it's still fucking there. But that's the last time.
And it was
That
just
happened.
one.
No, it was multiple times.
Oh,
then
okay.
Then I was like, "Hey guys, I just threw up a lot," and they're like, "But you seem fine." And I was like, "I know because I've never gone through something like this. This is the scariest moment of my life." And they're like, "All right, why don't you go home?" And then I went home and then just projectile vomit. Yeah, but only through food poisoning. I've never had alcohol enough to throw up in my life. I have fainted in front of my friends before vomiting. That's how terrible. My body will shut down.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
No, I believe you. You're saying the last time I vomited is when I had COVID yesterday.
Oh,
I'm
great.
just
Oh,
kidding.
awesome. Awesome.
Oh my God! When I had COVID. Please do that with every joke I do on the comedy podcast, Russell. Thank you. And there's something though about throwing up that like it's awful when it comes. It's awful during.
Yeah.
But after you're crying a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Feels
cathartic.
so much better.
Oh, I don't
the
know.
thing that was evil inside you is gone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I almost threw up on stage once in high
did?
school, almost, because I was doing Guys and Dolls, and I played Nicey Nice and Johnson, and yeah, it's a good part for me. I guess they didn't. For some reason, I was bringing my own sandwich prop to the
Okay,
shows
go off.
because I guess it was not in the budget of my high school.
Non-equity.
So I,
Were you bringing a period piece sandwich for like a Subway chicken teriyaki?
no, I remember thinking, because I remember putting the prop together and thinking you really should just be bread, so you don't have to you don't want to get caught with lots of things on stage, and it'll be harder to sing.
Smart, really
So
smart.
just bread, right?
Yeah.
So bread. But what had happened during the day, somehow it was in my backpack. It had my Adidas cologne had spilled onto the sandwich and soaked it in a way that I didn't know. And so I go take out the sandwich and I take a big bite because it's involved with some dumb bit, I'm sure. I take a huge bite of this Adidas sandwich and I'm standing there on stage being like, I remember thinking maybe I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm gonna die. But I was trying not to throw up on stage. I remember I had the things where you're like,
oh no.
and then I got off stage. I was panicking. I was like, can I talk? Can I sing? I was like,
That is
kind of
so
water. It was
scary.
You just
awful.
tasted the cologne. I don't even know what cologne
it
tastes like.
tasted like I was drinking like something
Like
from underneath the
poison.
sink,
Yeah.
like poison.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Food. I had a high school production of it was On the Razzle, which is Hello Dolly's based on the Razzle. It's the Hello Dolly story.
Wow.
And I was
That is
at
so
the
obscure.
end Tom Stoppard. And at the end, I cheers people with champagne, and it was apple cider.
Yeah.
And there's one day closing where there was mold in all. They had just they filled the cups, they didn't refill
They
it.
leave the cup.
There was a bucket of vomit in the corner. I don't know whose vomit it was.
It was mine.
And I just remember I had to go out there and somehow inform the actors
There's mold.
don't drink it when
Wha-
we after the cheer because I go out I'm like on the Razzle cheers worse yeah and I'd be like don't drink it food and theater it's a dangerous game.
Anything in theater is a dangerous game.
Yeah.
If you feel sick, if you trip, if literally anything happens, everyone it's like a record scratch. Everyone's like a robot and they
Yeah.
don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But, fighting illness when you're trying to perform is the worst possible thing in the universe. I
And-
never really experienced that.
COVID changed I feel like there was a real admiration for if you were sick and you still did it, you're a champ.
Oh yeah.
And now we're all readjusting whether we're going to go back to that
Yeah.
or not because of COVID because it was bad before too. You shouldn't perform if you have the flu, but there was an integrity to wow.
Oh yeah, I am that.
Me too.
That was my college experience. If you were on your deathbed, you were still expected to perform. So that's my mentality. I have been so sick and I will always get up and do it, even though I absolutely should not. And then what ends up happening is you do it so much and you get even sicker and then you're out of the show
Yeah.
even longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lesson learned.
Can I say,
Yeah.
because, well, for people who don't know, you created, co-creator of Titanique, which Russell was in, and a lot of Debbie Downsiders saw.
Yeah.
Oh really?
yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, because I stopped doing theater a while ago, but I cannot imagine doing theater in the era of COVID testing.
It's wild.
It seems fucking impossible.
Oh, it was impossible.
It just seems, and it was just there was something about theater where there was still. You don't have to wear a mask to watch theater anymore, do you?
No, but the first 6 months of Titanique, you did.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. I remember because I went to take a sip of my coffee and I kept it down. They came over and I was like, and it's so theater already doesn't pay enough. It already is so hard. It already is just like this incredible miracle that to add it, and also in New York because it is liberal with health and COVID, and it became just so impossible.
Oh, 1,000%.
I know theater companies that shuttered because there was some production that like it couldn't get off the ground, a big musical, and it just seems like it must have been a fucking nightmare.
It was crazy. I mean, the reason that we ended up hiring Russell, even the first time, is because a week and a half into opening Titanique, I had never gotten COVID in my entire life. We opened the show. My body's like, okay, great. See ya. Peace. And I super spread it to 5 of the cast members. So after I don't know if you know this, maybe you did know this, but you weren't even in the show at this point. But the whole show shut down for a week and a half.
Yeah.
And at that point, our producers were like, well, we're going to have to close. Because like we've just lost so much money.
Yeah.
And then we come back, and then August rolls around, and everyone gets it again. And so everyone goes down with it. So Russell is hired as an emergency. He learns the show in, I want to say 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
Comes on and is a fucking genius. And then we go to the Daryl Roth, and this past August, everyone, I think you just left.
I just missed
You
it.
just-
I
you
was
just
in it
missed
when
it.
it was happening, but it was like one of those things where I was like, oh, am I going to be able to do my last show? Because
Right, because so many
every
people were
day
out.
there was one or two people
And
getting
also,
it.
you had that
going
terrible cough that last show.
out. I still have a cough.
In your mind, just let me ask real quick.
Yeah.
Knowing that Titanic, you did so well in it, and now you made your Broadway debut.
Do you think
Are
I
you-
changed your life?
Yes.
Yes or
In a
no?
way, do you feel thankful for the global pandemic that killed millions of people?
Because it brought me
it helped
Titanic
you personally.
and yeah, I guess I am really appreciative of that. But in my defense, by the time I joined, there was a vaccine, so
Vaccine, schmaxine.
yeah.
That's the official slogan
Yeah.
of the downside.
Yeah,
Vaccine schmaxine.
I had a question. Well, when I did it too, it was the Wild West because it was
It
like
was the
that was September I think of 2022. So it was like I was coming in, but then there was like, and then I came in again in October. It hit everyone again or another round, and it was like what it was like. Just
And we
chaos.
had to keep, I'm sure you know this, but we had to like test, we had to do spit tests every single day and then rapid tests. But then you have an audience, but it was at former UCB.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm here as Celine, the audience is right here.
Yeah.
You just so much have to breathe on me
Yeah.
and I'm going to get it. So there's
Yeah.
no rhyme or reason. So that we just kept getting it and we did not have enough because we were such a small show, not thinking that we would like exceed any expectations. We didn't have enough backup at the time. So it was like, it was the Wild West. I don't know how we got through that first 6 months. And then we
Yeah.
started getting, more backup. But then still, I mean, when people go down, everyone goes down. We had to cancel a show a couple weeks ago because, because every single person got sick.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
I know. That being said, we're still doing great.
Yeah.
The show's still doing great.
It hit 500 performances.
It did.
Did you
It
go that night?
No, I didn't go. But my dad, who is a musical theater buff, I mean, like
Composed. Is
he
a composer?
composes.
Yeah, he composes.
You know that?
I did my
He's a
research.
researcher
Oh
guy.
my
I'm a
God.
research. I care about the things that I make.
I'm so impressed.
Of course.
My dad is a little composer, and that's how I got like
little
yeah, he's a little composer, which is how I got basically shepherded into this business. He wrote me. He was like, "Did you know one of the greatest musicals of all time, Follies, played 601 performances. Titanique is en route to surpass that." And I was like, "I'm not gonna necessarily compare the great Follies to Titanique, but thank you so much, Dad. That's so sweet of you."
So you went to the Cincinnati Conservatory of
Oh my
Music.
God, he does his research.
I also auditioned
CCM.
You did?
CCM. Oh yeah, yeah. Did not. It was my first audition. I auditioned for 8.
Me too. I
colleges.
auditioned for 8.
I'm sure you got all of them.
I did.
My father wasn't a composer, so look, my father was a scrap metal recyclist. I had to start from.
That sounds like the mob.
I wish. I was Bubba the guy there.
Bubba.
So
South African guy who talked like this.
yeah, I wasn't gonna do the impression, but
Marla can.
this was my first audition. I was prepared. I was a studious if not talented, at least studious. And I showed up. Let's say my audition time on my paper, it said like 9:10 a.m. And I showed up at like 8:30. And Bubba comes out of the audition room and says, Gianmarco, are you Gianmarco? You're supposed to be here at 8:10. And I was like, oh, my paper says 9:10. He was like, just come in. And I was like, well, might as well go home at this point.
Oh my God.
And it was a devastating start to that like cycle.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
it's
To your psychosis.
Yeah, you fly there. My stepdad.
What do you do? What do you
flying
sing?
there.
You sing a couple songs?
I think I
Just a
did.
couple songs,
I
yeah.
did Joey from the what is it called? The Most Happy Fella. The
Most Happy Fella.
Most Happy Fella.
Yeah.
And I was doing like big baritone songs, and then some like the monologue from The Goat of like the gay kid confronting his father about fucking a goat, and it's really a metaphor about it being accepted as being gay, and it all, you know, what are you gonna do? It was a very compelling monologue, but it started off terribly.
Oh.
CCM was known, at least what they told us when I was a cherub at Northwestern in the musical theater camps. Like CCM, they said, oh, they're a factory there.
Oh my God!
They
I
prepare
was
kids for
literally
the
just gonna say
ensemble.
that. Yes.
They prepare the perfect ensemble members. And as like a fucking high school, you're like, oh, well then that's the bottom of the list. God
Because I'm a
forbid.
principal.
Because I'm a principal.
God damn it.
You know.
It is a musical theater factory. You like walk in there 4 years later, you walk out, you go onto showcase, and then people just start booking shows left and right. And then you're like, well, it's been 2 years and I haven't booked a show. Like it's crazy, but
Yeah.
it is 1000% a musical theater factory. And it was tough when I went there, I have to say. I think it's softened, but like when I was there was, I don't know if Northwestern had this, but it was a cut program, meaning
Well, I did a summer camp at Northwestern. I went to University of Miami for college for musical theater.
oh nice.
No, terrible. I wish I'd gone to CCM.
No, we had to re-audition. We had to re-audition every 6 months.
Every 6
for
months?
the first 2 years to be in the program.
But here's my question, because there were a couple programs that would do that, and when I was younger, I was like, that was horrifying.
But I was like, it's a true testament of how good you are in musical theater.
If you worked really
Someone's here.
hard,
Someone knock on the door.
it's okay. You want to
I'm
get it?
just gonna ignore. Okay.
It could have been the other door.
Okay.
Great. If you were a hard worker and did all your work, who is it? What? Oh, sorry, I think you have the wrong door. Okay, we're recording a podcast right now. Can you come back later?
It's important.
It's okay. Not as important as we have Marla Mindelle. Have you seen Titanique? Okay.
I'm stressed out. Do we have to evacuate?
No, we don't have to evacuate. If it was an evacuation,
Does
I
he
think
knock
we'd
on the door alone?
No, never.
Gianmarco, it seems like it could be
It's
real.
Fine. It's fine.
I'm so stressed. Do you want me to ask him what's happening?
No.
Okay.
I'm just here.
I'm sorry.
This is my first
Wow.
experience.
That would be
The
a
whole
fun bit
building
if every single
explodes.
episode we had
Well, there's a
someone die.
gas leak.
There's not a gas leak.
Fire.
Okay.
Oh God, what was I even saying? CCM audition
Cut program.
Oh,
cut every
oh.
6 months.
if you actually did the work, would they cut you because
Yes.
you were not talented
Yes.
enough?
Yes.
That's
Isn't that
tough.
crazy? You could do the work.
That's their fault for letting you
Is
in,
there-
though. That's
is there-
the problem.
is there
I
a
would sue the fucking
percentage?
school.
Or no, it's just like based on
No.
their gut instinct of like who's
It was
gonna
like
make
gut,
it.
yeah, it was gut instinct.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And at the time, we were all just like, oh, well, yeah, you could just pay, $30,000 or your parents pay $30,000 or however much the tuition was. And you can still not be guaranteed to get a musical theater education. So like it made in a way, in a really, really sick way, it made you so prepared for what the business actually was of just being like constantly rejected. It gave you a super, super thick skin and made you unbelievably resilient, which I attribute to like honestly staying in this business for 20 years and not shooting myself in the face
Yeah.
from all the rejection that I faced.
Did anyone ever get cut that was your good friend?
Yes. One of my best friends got cut his freshman year. And it's hard. You like build because it's a factory, but it's also just like high stakes, low stakes. Like
Yeah.
who's gonna get cast? You know what I mean? And it's a drama school, so it's filled
Yeah.
with drama. So you are literally in like musical theater, war trenches. We called it gay sleepaway camp for a reason. It's like you were just like with all your gay best friends in like gay musical theater prison. And like, you just have to forge alliances in order to survive.
You, as you speak of it, it seems that there's a fondness. I mean, you loved it. You're speaking of it well, and my question is like, are you speaking of it well because you made it through?
I made it through. Listen, it was very, very hard. And to be completely frank, and I think my teachers would probably say the same thing. People were hard on me. People were very, very hard on me. So again, it just like built that wall up, and it made me say to myself, you know what? I'm going to go out there, and every single teacher who I've ever worked with can tell me that I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to make it, or I'm going to have to wait 20 years. I'm going to make it, and I will prove to every single last one of you. And that's the mentality I had going into auditioning in New York. And I truly think, in a sick way, it really, really helped me.
I have such mixed feelings about going to college for theater at this point.
Me too.
Also a 4-year program.
Oh, insane.
I think I have a twofold. There's one part where I go like, you know what? The cutting thing is good because I can think of people who I went to college with in musical theater where I'm like, you're not going to do this professionally.
Right.
You'll never do this professionally. You
Yeah.
don't want it. You don't have it. I don't know how you got in. The whole system of auditioning, it's crazy. It's such a brief moment
It's
in time.
so crazy.
And we had like
Yeah.
one teacher who let in, every person they let in happened to have big tits. And a lot of them, it was like, that's not enough. A lot of people in New York have big tits.
Yeah.
But so there's a part of me that goes like, good. And then there's another part of me that remembers my experience with Bubba or with a million other teachers, some smart, some not, some biased, that I go, who the fuck
1,000.
gets you? So I feel so mixed. And the reason I like a 2-year program is I'm like, you at least get the training. If you're stuck with someone bad, it's not 4 years.
But also, like, what did I do in 4 years? Like,
Yeah.
I took tap, like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. We did like
Yeah.
songalogs where we created monologues that went into songs. No English, no math, no science, no actual subjects whatsoever. It reminds me when I went to half Jewish school growing up, and I learned the Torah for 3 hours, and then I had to do like math like the last 45 minutes. So I could like speak Torah in Hebrew, but like not subtract.
It's the same
properly
way.
at all.
It's the same way.
Same thing.
Learning Hebrew and learning IPA are the
Yeah,
same.
the exact
goddamn
same
thing.
thing. Yeah.
I use neither.
I don't
Same.
feel like I use anything though. Even
I
like
learned
even like
IPA.
when I went to like
Same.
I went to like a liberal arts thing where I had to do all those things, and I don't use any of that. And then I got my MFA, and I don't know what I use there. So you're like, I don't know if I use anything. You're like,
Your talent.
you just just pure
Yeah,
talent,
just pure talent.
just like
No
raw.
one, no one could have talked me out of going to college for musical theater,
Same.
but I wish I could go back and like. It just so much was a waste. There was so much like learning IPA for a degree. Where for my money, I'm not good with accents or voices. I have to learn it in a different way. Learning a new language, it was useless.
IPA. I just remember that. I was like, why does he
You'd
think?
write
I remember
sentences.
it.
Remember,
Yeah, you
write
yeah.
sentences and be like,
Again, it's
figure
like
it out,
Torah.
write it.
And then some kid in class was like, I'm Irish now, and they don't know it at all. And it's like,
No.
well, they can
Yeah.
do
No.
it. Maybe I just will never do the Irish guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe some people don't get to do the characters.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Wow, you're really bringing it back. I mean,
Wow.
I'm grateful because I at least utilized my degree. I went on to utilize my degree. I don't think a single person from my class is utilizing it, or everyone has transitioned into something else within the business.
Yeah.
But I mean, we all did it at some point. But it's such a young industry too. It's
Yeah.
like by 30, I was done with Broadway. I moved to Los Angeles. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. This is crazy.
What broke you?
What broke me? Many things broke me. But you know what? I realized Broadway is the most special thing on the planet. Doing a show is the most wonderful feeling in the world. But I had done, and again, I don't want to complain because it's a barometer of success.
Wait, but hold up. But this is what this podcast is for.
Oh yeah, you have to
You
complain.
don't need to say that you're thankful. You can say, if it's doing Sister Act for
It's
2
all
years made you want to
implied.
kill yourself. It's
Yeah.
whatever you want to say.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well then, if that's the case, no,
Broadway's a shithole.
Well,
could you imagine? And,
Let it
and
burn
another
to the
thing, I'm going to
ground.
talk about this producer
another
and this person. and I need to bring with this.
oh
No,
my
not at
God,
all.
that producer. Wait, I have
Please.
to tell this story after this though
Oh, no, you
about a
can
producer
tell
I
it.
ran into.
Say it.
I'm not gonna say his name, but a producer that Gianmarco and I know.
The reason that we met
producer.
was a show
Well,
that we did.
you're revealing too much information now.
Okay.
Anyways, anyways, it's a producer we both know. I did a show for a year.
Workshop to write it.
Workshopped writing, had a credit. He was somewhat involved in blah 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 in
If it
the
ever gets
sketch,
revived, the whole cast
the
gets a cut
sketch
of
group,
1% of the income.
he was a little involved in our sketch group forming. Blah blah. blah. No, haven't seen him in a while. Saw him at the invited dress for Gutenberg. Said hi. No fucking clue who I
Stop
am.
it. Stop it.
And did not even pretend to know who I was. He gave me the most like, hey, dismissive thing and kept walking. And I was like, that's truly psychotic
That
to
is-
not even pretend. Because listen, I get it. You forget who people are. But you gotta fake it. You gotta at least be like, oh my God, how are you? It's been so long.
1000%.
Do anything other than that. And he just had no fucking clue who I was.
Were
Anyways,
you like, hey, I'm Russell. I wrote a show for you for a year.
It
You
was-
were integral in like putting my sketch
I
team
wrote a
together?
show. Oh my God, that's funny. I wrote a name. And he
I think you should wear because in the show that we did, what did your shirt say?
oh God. It said like something about chubby guys.
It said "Chubby guys cuddle better"
Yeah.
or something.
Oh my God.
And I
Oh,
said
the-
you need to
I'm
see him again and
trauma.
wear. I'm gonna find it
Wear the
online and
shirt.
buy it for you. Chubby
Yeah.
guys cuddle
That's
better.
funny.
You
Do you
wear that
do you
shirt.
remember he had an idea? We were doing that with this one scene. He's like, how about in this one part you get flustered and you drop something and then you show your whole ass crack to the audience. And
don't
I was like,
remember that.
how about no? Not gonna do that.
Yeah, that's not how you said
Um,
it. You're like, oh,
I said maybe we can think about it, and then I just never tried it. No, but he did not know who I was, that man.
That is so wild.
So wild. And also like I was like, I'm like technically like I'm about to do a cameo in this show that you're a little tiny producer of. I don't know. I don't
That
want to say
is
too much.
crazy. I'm
But
sorry.
anyways, very weird.
What a weird thing.
Very
It would be
weird.
great if you had that chubby guy's cuddle shirt underneath
know.
your suit. Like, Russell Daniels.
You remember me?
Yeah.
Anyways.
What would be funny is if I come by and he goes, Gianmarco,
Gianmarco, Bubby,
Gianmarco!"
baby. But we were saying
What
broke
broke
you.
me?
Yeah.
I had done 3 shows back to back. I had done 8 years of Broadway shows.
What were they?
It was South Pacific, Sister Act, and Cinderella. And Cinderella and Sister Act were in the exact same theater. So I'd spent like over 4 years in the same theater. I had like a second home.
Yeah.
And they were all incredible shows. And they were all very long running, which is crazy.
South
Yeah.
Pacific at Lincoln Center?
Uh-huh. hmm
Oh, wow.
I did that for like a year and a half. I did Sister Act for nearly 2 years, and then I did Cinderella. I did like developmental and Cinderella for like almost 2 years. But I had done, doing 8 shows a week with no holidays, with no time off. I just was like, there has to be more than this. And I was like an aspiring writer, and I was like, that's it. If I can just make it on Broadway, I'm going to go to LA and make it as a writer. Like, how hard could that be?
Yeah.
And then you go to Los Angeles and you think it's going to be so easy, and God is literally like, LOL, and he gives you the finger, and then you sit on your ass for like, well, I sat on my ass for literally 8 years, just like not making it. So it was a very, very humbling experience that when I came back to theater and started doing it, I was so grateful, and I had a newfound appreciation that I did not before, which is great.
Yeah. Which of those? First of all, I saw that South Pacific. South Pacific, to me, it still is crazy. I think reviving that show in this day and age and still singing "Younger Than Springtime" is
Crazy.
crazy.
This is now
Is-
13, 14 years ago.
yeah, I
So
remember
it's a
seeing
different
it.
time. Yeah.
It was
yeah.
it was such a beautiful production. But even
Oh my God.
but you know that song, right?
No.
Younger
So
than
he's-
springtime am I.
And
What does it
it's
mean?
about a
Yeah, you're
soldier.
the
Where does it
laughter.
take place? It's the South Pacific.
South Pacific.
South
yeah.
Pacific. He finds a local.
Uh-huh.
And the song is after they sleep together or they're about to sleep together.
She's younger than
She's younger than Springtime.
That's young.
the whole song is you're so young.
Oh my
Oh
God.
God, I love how young you are. It is crazy. It is crazy.
I never thought about that. I was like, oh, that's so pretty.
Oh, all those, and we talked.
You're
we
like
had,
a baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah. We had Josh Henry on, and I said he did a carousel,
Right,
and
right,
I said like I didn't like that they took out the part where the little girl says, "Mama, can a man ever hit you and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
feels like a kiss?" And she goes like, "Yes, honey." And there's a degree of like, then don't revive it. Then write a new piece.
Right.
Don't excise it because you're
Right.
like you're literally like it, to me it's like what they do
It's
with
just
history books. It's like you either talk about history as it was,
Right.
Yeah.
or you're lying about what it was.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
which show was there any show? See, what I can't imagine is doing the same. The most I ever did a show was 6 weeks I think the show that I wrote that I was in was like a month, 8 shows a week, and I was going crazy.
Me too.
I was going
He knows
crazy.
this. I suffer from what?
Every episode he talked about it. We had a segment called the
I'm sure he watched
Marla.
it and he was like, oh my God, everyone had to talk Marla off a ledge today. I go crazy. I go crazy. I start believing that I can't sing the notes anymore or say the words anymore. So then it's psychosomatic. Then I can't actually sing. I start stumbling over words. I start shaking. It's very, very bad. So it started during Sister Act. And it was actually, I mean, this is one of the real truths is that I started suffering so much stage fright from Sister Act that I was like, maybe it'll go away if I just leave the business. And then I came back and it was still there.
Tell me, was it one day you felt it new? Like, what does it mean?
It was one of those 10 show weeks during Thanksgiving, and I was singing. I had a huge solo in Sister Act. I had the 11 o'clock number, and I'm supposed to sing like this big note, and I just crack. I'm exhausted, and I crack, and it was so humiliating and embarrassing that literally since that day I could just never sing it as well.
What kind of crack? A into head voice or a
It was
wavering?
It was like that. It was like a bad crack. Sorry, I'm sure
No,
I blew it out.
Yeah.
But then I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't sing it as well. And then in Cinderella, I was like, great, I have no singing. This will be great. But I had a huge monologue. And there was one day on stage where I couldn't get out the word rewrite. So I was like re on stage in front of an audience. I just had a stroke. Like that news anchor that was like,
Yeah.
Steve
Carell in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a comedy club where they played that leading up to the show. Some comedy clubs show clips from movies, and so every night I had to hear the fucking Steve Carell. It was funnier than anything that was about to happen on that stage. But it was, how long are we talking? Like, if we're
this is 14 years ago.
but I mean, how long were you going
For 5 seconds. Could not get the word out.
The whole audience was going.
Yeah. Like the cast members backstage were like, "Whoa, Marla, you okay there?
Yeah.
What happened?
And you know what's funny about this is in our heads, and also people around us will be like, no one remembers that, blah, blah, blah. But then I go back to when I saw Into the Woods revival when I was in 8th grade, Jack's mother, something happened to her. And it's all I can ever think about on stage.
Oh my God, what happened?
She was just like, so it's the part where she's talking about Milky White, and she goes, Jack, so on heaven, like no words. It was all gibberish, and I watched those words leave.
Yeah.
She did Jack, and then she goes, and her eyes just trying to find, but and I will remember that forever. I remember thinking this is so embarrassing for her.
Embarrassing for
and
her.
I remember it still.
Yeah.
So
imagine all the people that saw Cinderella that day that were like, God, that girl Marla.
people
is
are
an
like
embarrassment."
people won't remember, and you're like, they will.
No, they will.
They will.
Yeah.
They will remember. But you though sometimes, just now knowing that, and when you would sometimes feel like something happened at Titanique, it was most of the time I would not even know what you were talking about.
No, I know.
Where
I know.
it would not be like this severe crack thing, or
Yeah, so I had a couple moments. I had a couple moments for sure. There was one time where I forgot the words to "Because You Loved Me," and then I thought that my life was ending. But I was actually appeased to know that the current Celine forgot the same exact words in the same place.
See.
And so I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. Those words are
Hard.
batshit crazy. They're hard.
Yeah.
That was the only thing where I thought I was losing my mind and my life. And Titanic, we built Titanique in a way so that if something is crazy going on for me in my life, like with my mental illness journey, that I can do or say anything, and still I would still get really, really in my head, which is crazy.
And this was new, it was a new thing. This was later in your career. That's something new.
I know.
Did you go to therapy? Did you?
I have done everything. I went to an EMDR. I did EMDR.
What's EMDR? Oh,
it's like a certain kind of performance-based trauma therapy.
Oh.
Where you have to follow a light with your eyes, which is supposed to reprogram your brain. I did that. I went to normal therapy, journaled, meditated, beta blockers. I do it all. And everything leads me to believe that I am just too insane for this business. And at some point, I just got to bow out and just become a writer. But now Titanic has happened, and now it's on this incredible trajectory. So I'm going to have to do it and figure out a way to get through it.
When you were writing, other than the struggle of getting work, were you? I mean, you're a theater kid. You're a theater. Were you going crazy? Did you miss the spotlight, the adrenaline, the release, the thrill?
That's the weird thing about it. Is like
Yeah.
it's such a it's like extreme highs and extreme lows. Somebody explained it to me as like it's like heroin in a weird way. Like the high that you get from performing and the validation is unlike anything that you'll ever experience. And then you go to sleep and you're so exhausted and I'm in my bed like a vampire until the show begins again, crashing. And so it's just like this constant high and low. So when I was in Los Angeles, I was writing a ton and I wasn't selling anything, and I was just pitching and just hemorrhaging money. And so I was working at this dinner theater in Los Angeles that would do kind of like these little shows or little reviews or like half comedy club, half kind of musical theater, movie to musical parodies. And that's what really kind of saved me, because other than that, I lost everything and like was just so so wildly unsuccessful in Los Angeles until Titanique started happening, which is truly crazy.
I think it's just wild that you left the theater when you had a full career. I mean, just to go to writing, which is just such a different beast.
I just thought that the thing about theater is that you don't have a tremendous, unless you write it yourself. I always felt like, will I always be a cog in somebody else's wheel? I'm so desperate to create myself. I'm so desperate to be a writer. Will I always just be in somebody else's thing when I really, really, really want to be in my own? And so I just thought that writing seemed like more glamorous, but it's actually you probably know it's even harder than being an actor, because you just have these like inceptions and these babies that are never sold and they never come to fruition.
I mean, that's why, stand-up, there's so many ways where stand-up, it's like it solved all those problems. Like, I think I was doing more theater, and I was in some bad shows, and I was in like a long run of a bad play, and I was like,
You're in New York?
Here in New York. And then I was like, this is hell on earth. Like being in a play that like every time it starts, you're like, well, it's not going to go well because it's not good. And every night you're restarting it, and the audience comes with anticipation. You're like, well, nothing's different from last night. It's going to be bad still.
Yeah.
And then I finally wrote my own thing, and then even that, it had flaws, and it hit the point of tech where we couldn't change anything anymore. And even that was driving me nuts. And the second act was weaker, and it was the same feeling of like, first act's going great, and I'm like, and I know where this is going. Yeah. Some weak scenes coming up. And stand-up is like, I get to change it whenever I want. I don't have to get anyone's approval, and I get to write and literally say it that night. And of course, it has limitations and whatnot, but it is like it solved everything that I ended up hating about theater. So when I hear of people doing, even Russell's run in Titanique, it was so long, and I was just like,
I know, I can't believe he did it.
So hard to do a long run.
I do think that, like, it is because I that was my first time doing a show that long. Mm-hmm. And to now be in another thing, it is crazy, the people that did Phantom of the Opera for like 30 years. I don't know how. I don't know how you can do 8 shows a week and for that long and stay sane, because there's just a point where you're like, I need more than one day.
Yeah.
I need more than one day. I need 2 days. I need to be able to, in my mind, be like, I'm not going to do it in next week for a little bit. Like, there's just no freedom like that built into this world. So I'm having a great time right now, but it is hard to imagine like just doing that always. The fact that you did it for 8 years is wild.
But we only did it, for a week here and there, or a performance here and there. We had worked on it for 8 years.
No, I meant like when you were doing your run of Broadway show. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Yeah. But it is interesting because I was so ready to have some time away from Titanic and be done.
I know. I feel like we're gonna say the exact
I was
same
so
thing.
ready, and then immediately you're like seeing posts, and you're like,
it's such FOMO.
and you're like, oh well, like you do miss out on that thing. It is like a drop. Those crowds are great. The show's so fun. You immediately start having FOMO about it.
Oh, immediately. The same.
But
so let's go back a little. Where were you born?
Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Home of the Bucks County Playhouse.
And what level did your dad compose at? Like how far did he got?
He had a couple shows off Broadway. He's had tons of regional shows. He's always been like this close to getting something on Broadway. So for as long as I've been born, this man has had his fingers on a piano. And when my mom was pregnant with me, she was listening to Broadway shows. So I quite literally popped out of the womb being like, with like razzle dazzle jazz hands, being like, this is all I'm gonna do. I'm never gonna do anything but musical theater.
Yeah.
And so my whole family is just like wildly invested in musical theater. Like a family has like sports kids. Like he raised, well, except for our youngest, but he raised a family like very, very hardcore into musical theater. Like he knows Broadway shows like baseball cards.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
And what was the most successful show? What was the furthest?
He had a show called New Yorkers, which was off Broadway. He had a show called Once Upon a Time in New Jersey. He had The Honeymooners at Paper Mill Playhouse
wow.
a couple years ago. Yeah, he's always had something. And
Did you ever like sing one of his songs?
oh my God, I sang everything.
Yeah?
I sang everything. But then I was like, I don't want to do that because I didn't want to be like a nepo baby at the time. And this is like before nepo babies were a thing. Yeah, exactly. But I knew even like 20 years ago, I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, I sang everything, and he was my greatest. To me, he was my Sondheim, and he still is. Because he's still
Is
composing.
he doing lyrics too, or he has a partner?
He had multiple partners, but when he first started, he was just doing lyrics. He was in like the BMI and ASCAP workshops, and
Sure.
I'm sorry, he was doing music and lyrics. And then he was delegated to just composer, and now he's like doing both again. And so he's been creating shows, and I have seen the process of creating shows through him all of my life.
Is
And I was
he-
like, it's crazy. I never want to do that. And then of course I went
Yeah.
and did it too.
Is he content with his career? Did he ever go through like obviously was he dying to get to Broadway?
Dying to get to Broadway.
And it was heartbreak every time it didn't, or
It's the same thing of like, like not selling a TV show or something like that. Yeah, you always have that goal in your mind. So yes, I think that his dream would ultimately to get a Broadway show up there. But he has multiple projects, and I do believe that one day it will happen. I mean, I'm kind of the same way now. Like
Yeah.
I got bit by the bug. I don't know why Broadway is like the pinnacle of like success, because there are so many other forms of success.
sure,
But we just get like
yeah.
things in our brain,
Of
you know.
course, I have the
Yeah,
comedy friends who still want to do Saturday Night Live,
Right,
and it's
exactly.
like, shut up. You don't even like it. Hopefully next year also, you got it. Do you think it's surreal for your dad to watch you?
Yes, my dad believes he's Celine Dion based on his Facebook posts, which are like all far left memes and like Titanic reviews.
Wait, how bad are these far left memes?
Well,
like,
he got out of that phase. He got out of that phase. We were like, Dad, it's like you gotta
Like-
stop getting in fights. Just
Yeah.
stop posting. Yeah.
just like Trump's a dumb.
Well, like stuff akin to that, and then like, hey, check out this amazing Titanic review. And so, I mean, it's very
So
very
sweet.
I think that he's living vicariously. I mean, he'll even admit this, that he's living vicariously through the success and the phenomenon that is Titanic. And I mean, as somebody who's composed multiple shows, he knows better than everyone that what we have created together is virtually in an off-Broadway space completely unheard of. I mean, there have been a couple for sure, like Fantastics, like Little Shop of Horrors, but what we have done running a show even a year off Broadway
Sure.
is
Yeah.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
Is mind blowing. So he makes me feel very grateful, and he puts things in perspective to me all the time about how massive this is.
Yeah.
Did he make an okay living? Did he have to do side hustles, or is he making music for other things?
No, he had to have side hustles.
Yeah.
He worked for Merrill Lynch for quite some time, and then he became kind of like a therapist for financial teams.
Really?
So yeah, randomly. And then he got my middle sister Lisa, who had left musical theater, in a job at Merrill Lynch, where she is now a financial advisor. So there's like this random other side. He was a therapist for years, and that's how he made his living. And then he was like writing speeches for people at Merrill Lynch, and then became like this kind of therapist, which I don't have any of those skills. And had I not gone to a BFA program, maybe I would.
Sure.
Because I'm really screwed.
Yeah.
And you have an older sister? who
I'm
did
the
theater?
oldest.
You're the oldest.
I have 2 younger sisters.
Did they both do theater?
My middle sister, Lisa, did. We went to the same college. And then Olivia is the black sheep, and she wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And I do not blame her.
I can imagine if my
Yeah.
2 older sisters were doing it, I'd be like,
Yeah, I'd
"Get
be
outta
like,
here."
yeah.
Were you and your sister competitive, or was
No.
it was
no.
always sweet? And
It was always sweet and friendly. Lisa, we went to the same college. Talk about like different experiences. Lisa was cast in everything. She got everything. I got.
Were you there at the same
nothing.
time?
We were there for 1 year. She's 3.5 years younger.
Did she have like a little extra clout because her older sister
She
was in it?
better.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if you're a freshman to
I
senior.
think so. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. I think she did for sure. And we lived together. So we had a great relationship, but she
Yeah.
was cast in everything. I was cast in nothing. And then we switched when we got to New York. She actually had a fair amount of success, but she was like, I cannot do this anymore. It's just too hard.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then she transitioned.
Sometimes you can't tell who's not gonna be able to do it.
And it's so weird too how like colleges have like their idea of who they think are going to be successful. Like I don't know who the creme de la creme was at your college, or somebody that you all thought was like, this person is going to go out and like book Broadway immediately.
Yeah.
And then that person is now like living, I don't know, in Sonoma or something like that.
Yeah, you just have no idea.
Yeah.
I also think my other philosophy is if it's going to be a 4-year program, you got to be like in the heart of. You have to be in New York or a
Yeah.
place of theater, so you can at least understand what the world is. I think the problem with college is like the greatest singer at my college is a fine singer in New York. I went to, and I'm so glad I did it, but everyone should do it. I did a summer here in New York in college, and I went to a non-equity Phantom of the Opera chorus call.
Where?
And, like at the Equity Center.
How
Like
could-
I waited in a
Oh,
non-equity line
I
for
see,
a
I see.
chorus.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
And it was, and the walls were paper thin, and you were
Yeah.
doing 8 bars.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
hearing what the quality of some of the non-equity singers was like, oh shit, what the fuck?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm getting through this way. It just made
Yeah.
you and also made you realize like, oh, I had to come here at 7 a.m. to sign up for the line for later. You can't grasp it. How
No,
instead they get an old guy who comes in and he goes, kids, if you can do anything else, do it. And every
Yeah.
kid goes,
Yeah, right.
Me,
Yeah, not
me. I'm
me.
the one.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not enough.
I-
It's not enough. He needs to take you to his apartment where he still has roommates.
Yeah. I remember doing one of those in Ripley Greer in like
Oh my
early days of New York, waiting for hours in those halls. And when I walked in, the casting director was making fun of my headshot. When I walked in,
Russell?
I saw her. She was just like, oh. And then we caught eyes and she was like put it down like she wasn't doing it. But we all knew.
What was your headshot like?
I don't remember. It was like this is 12, 13 years ago. But it was just like it was so clear what she was doing. But you're like, I just waited 6 hours to walk
Yeah.
into this room, and that is what you're being.
It's like
met with.
that guy where the casting director was making fun of his apartment in Los
Oh
Angeles
yeah,
on Zoom.
yeah.
Oh my
Now
god.
he's in everything.
Now he's in everything. There was a casting director that got fired. I think it was a Telsey person. I know you
Yes.
guys have to be careful, but I can talk shit.
I don't know
First
if
of
I know
all,
this.
I got a master class by that one Telsey guy who was fired for soliciting like.
Oh, that's the one I thought you were thinking.
Yeah,
of.
yeah. I got a
I do
master
know
class
about
from
that
him
one.
once. He didn't ask me for anything. And and then there was some cast director who was live tweeting like. And
I
I,
do know. I'm not
Oh,
sure if
I don't
that's
think that was
but
Telsey.
I did hear about that. That was like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which again, that's not cool because of the power balance. But there's a lot of funny things that happen in an audition during a full day.
Yeah.
And it would make
Oh,
a
yeah.
great Twitter feed. You could make a fake one.
Yeah.
You could do a fake feed and it would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nightmare theater
It's so
is.
weird. It's so interesting now being on the other side and having to watch all these people audition. Actually, you realize
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
everyone is so insanely talented now that even I am like, oh my god, I don't think at this level I could still make it compared to the quality of people coming in. Everyone is talented. It's been like great for me to like get out of my head and be like, oh, there's literally no rhyme or reason as to who gets hired for anything. It's actually like a miracle if you do get hired because there are so many factors and everyone is just like insanely talented at this point.
Yeah.
Can I say, I said this on another episode, but I saw a musical recently. I won't say it only to make this point. I feel like because there's so many musical theater programs, that I saw a musical recently where everyone was so polished and so perfect. And I think about listening to some of the original off-Broadway cast albums of Little Shop of Horrors where one person was like a cabaret singer randomly and one person wasn't even a singer. And it had such raw heart to it. I think about, like, for me, if I were to hear anyone sing a musical theater song, it'd be Michael Rupert. Falsettos is my favorite show.
Oh, really?
And like Michael Rupert, to me, he's not a perfect singer. Or I think about like what would some old fashioned, like Bernadette Peters, if she had gone through a traditional musical theater program, might not have that little thing.
That
or
makes her
Mandy
so
Patinkin,
special.
they would have worked it out of him. And I feel like in the pursuit of, in the commodification or the academic nature of that, it's made everything so glossy, and it makes sense why. But I remember I saw Parade, and there was Ben Platt. He was great, but there was one point where he's like in a dream sequence, and he becomes a dancer.
Yeah.
And the way that his body immediately became like balletic as opposed to a non-dancer doing that, I felt it, and I felt it took away from it. I think there's something where the perfection of musical theater, and also you have to pursue it now, especially singing wise, it's insane.
Yeah.
I saw Titanique and I thought, God, the singing is insane.
It's actually psychotic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's out of this world. It's something that when I think about when I wanted to do this, I was like, my body at my best couldn't do this once, let alone 8 times a week. I don't know what my point is, other than like I think like Broadway. I just feel like this is more like a way that of musical theater majors, and there's more and more. There's more and more colleges offering this. It's done something to Broadway.
It's I mean, everyone kind of sounds the same. Everyone sounds like auto-tune now. There's no like distinct. I see what you're saying. There's just no authenticity, or there's not as much authenticity. And those voices that you talk about are just so unique.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, they might not have been viewed as how incredible and wonderful they all are. So I understand that. And that's what I see when I walk into the room.
But I think with Russell and Titanic, there's a degree where I think Russell, that you pop in a certain way because you come from a different world sometimes. And it's like, it's just a different flavor that feels so refreshing. It's just like
God.
I think it's too.
No one sees you move and thinks, that's a dancer right there.
I love watching that.
Of course, but there's a reason. But there's something. But I'm saying, and it's not a diss. It really is like, it's funny.
Yeah.
And it's like authentic, as opposed to, oh, this is one of 100 people at a Broadway Dance Center has been doing this every week.
Yeah. He was one of the real good fat dancers in Fat Camp the musical. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Fat Camp.
Gigantic. It was called Gigantic later, right?
Was it?
Yeah. They changed.
Oh, I went to one call and somehow something got screwed up, and it was only 3 fatties, and then all the cheerleader,
Oh, great.
and so I was just like sitting in this room, and you'd hear like every skinny person going and be like, "What are you here for today? Fat Camp?" I'll laugh, and it was like, and then we were doing. It was a dance call, and it was insane.
Oh, Jesus.
And so all the cheerleaders are doing. They're acrobats. They're doing flips, and they had each of us show a special skill, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I did a joke. Their other fat guy who was like 45 at the time. I was like, he's way too old, but he could flip and stuff, and he did like flips, and then they were like Russell, and I jokingly said, slow motion somersault, and then they go ahead, and I was like, no, I don't have a special skill. Do you know what I mean?
Like, didn't do it.
No, and no one laughed at the joke, and I just said no, and then I didn't do a special skill. I just it was awful.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
Well, for
but I was
long-time
gonna say,
listeners, I hope you enjoyed that story a second time.
but wait, I had a question, or I had something to say about the polish thing. I also think it is in general, the kind of shows too, because you have a lot of the same type of shows that almost require that polish. If you're going to be hearing like the score for like Anne Juliet or something like that, you're not going to like, it doesn't offer up a lot of like weird 1970s Sweeney Todd voices being like, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, so I also feel like there's a lot of the content. It is not as much of an opportunity for like weird character things.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Hattie LuPone would be weird in Titanic. It would
I
be a
would
strange.
She
I'm
could
sure
do-
you would.
Oh my God.
Patti
she-
LuPone for Celine Dion, 2024.
Did she like the joke about her? Have you ever seen her?
I don't
She
think
hasn't come
she's
yet.
come see the show.
must
which
have
is
heard about it, right?
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, if
I
I
wanna
can't
have Patty on the
imagine that
podcast.
that every single gay man that has seen the show has not gone directly to
Yeah.
her to be like, you should see this because you are directly in it multiple times. You have a huge feature.
Yeah.
But she hasn't come, unfortunately. But I don't know because
She's still not. She's really not equity. They just make an exception every time she does a show.
No, she's not doing. She hasn't done a show.
she's not
since.
doing. I think she said that she's not doing theater anymore.
Yeah.
Which honestly, go off.
Yeah.
Go off, Patti LuPone.
Yeah. Also, they'll let her right back in when she wants to. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
oh, of
Their
course.
Equity's not going to be like.
okay,
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah,
this
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I'll
Great.
be
I'm
like,
glad we
okay,
got some
great.
union
goes, "Okay, I'll do
strong
this one."
people
Yeah.
here today. Jesus Christ, I've never heard. Before we go into our next segment, I do want to ask the story. I know it's
Uh-oh.
it would be certainly there's something. So whenever I have on a guest who might be queer, I don't want to just be like, how did you come out? However,
You want to know?
your story, I know.
You do?
I listened to this.
I don't know who I told this story to. Maybe everyone. Probably everyone.
Yeah, probably
It's
everyone.
wild.
If this was my story, I'd be telling everybody.
I don't know if I know it.
So how did you come out? How did it come to be?
Oh my God. Okay. So I was dating a girl my senior year of high school, and it was very, very secret because I was also like kind of like high school. I mean, like we're all just fucking around in high school. I was kind of just a slut. And so I had so many boyfriends. I had so much game in high school for looking like a 40-year-old woman with eyebrows that started right here, but that's besides the point.
And just like hooking up, like, did you have like a boyfriend that you said I love you and you like?
No, but I was always like I was dating them as if I was murdering them for their life insurance policies.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So I was in a secret relationship with this girl, and we were writing love notes to each other back and forth. And this is during the Music Man rehearsal. I drop one of the love notes. My theater rival named Ariel, not Ariel, she was always like, "It's Ariel." She picked up the love note. She read it. She started spreading it around to the school. By the next day, it had gone around the school. My girlfriend at the time, who was a little bit at this time, she was really on one. So, and she was really, really pissed about it. So she goes up to Ariel and her sidekick. Her name was Kate. She goes up to Kate and she was like, "Hey, Kate, come here." She was like, "What were you saying about me?" And before Kate could say anything, my girlfriend at the time punched her in the face.
God.
She's in the chorus of Music Man. I'm Marion the librarian. I'm so scared at this point that my parents are going to find out for some reason, like the theater instructor is going to tell them that. Then I had to like come out to my parents, who actively did not believe me because I had dated so many guys. So they just didn't think that I was in a relationship. They didn't think it was real. And
What did they say? They
What did they think?
thought it was a goof.
like
What
you
a
were-
funny. You're dramatic.
they just did not. They just did. They thought it was a phase. They thought it was a phase.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Especially
then I
your
had
dad. Your dad's a man of the theater. He
I
should-
know my dad is gayer than me. I was so shocked. I was shocked. It was the only time in my life that like I didn't feel like my family and I were like aligned, but it was also like this is like now 20 years ago, and so like they had never seen me express any feelings towards women at all. And I didn't really. It was just like this one thing that kind of happened. So, but it was such a kind of scary coming out story because I felt like I could not do it. I felt like I was forced to do it. And so it took my family like maybe 6 months to really accept it. And once they did, we were completely fine. But it took me a while. And then, of course, I went off to college and then kind of like went back in the closet. And like up until like, 24, I was like screwing around. And, I just feel like just finding myself. But I felt like at the time, I had to kind of commit to the bit, as they say in improv.
Yeah,
Had to
yeah.
commit to it. But isn't that crazy?
When she punched her, were you like, yeah?
Oh my God. In my head, I was like, yeah, but I was mortified.
It's gonna make it worse. Like
Yeah,
the
I thought it was going to make it worse, and
Yeah.
then and also this is now 20 years ago. Now, there was no such thing as non-binary. There was no such thing as like real acceptance, and this is like in the middle of like a purple state, in Pennsylvania. So I was really, really scared that
Yeah.
we were going to be bullied, And we were a little bit online because it was right when I'm dating myself, Jesus. But it's right when AOL Instant Messenger came out, so I would get bullying messages from people I didn't know on AOL.
In the high school, they were finding you on AIM.
Yeah, on AIM.
What would they say?
I don't remember, but I think it was something. Sorry, it's derogatory. There was something definitely about like the word dyke was in there, and so
Russell says it every episode.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. But yeah, but that was probably like the scariest time of my life, and it was the only time where I thought that my family would understand me, and they didn't. And they feel now. I mean, we laugh about it all the time, but they feel so guilty. that
Yeah.
At the time, they weren't like, "Oh my God, this is okay. Let's figure this out." At the time, they just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Isn't that a crazy story?
That is crazy.
I was thinking about doing it in improv once for Titanique, and I was like, no, it's kind of dark.
It is kind of dark. Also, because you're like, but you could do it.
I could do it in a funny way.
You would do it in a funny
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you'd frame it funny.
Yeah.
I always wonder. I know my mom would be totally chill if I had come out. I don't know how my dad. I have no idea how my father would react.
What are you Jewish?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought you were about to say bye.
No.
What are you?
Are you the Jewish? Yeah.
Okay. No, me
Jewish.
too.
And my dad's like, he's feminine in certain ways too, in the way that I am. He moves very femininely. I don't know. Well, this is a big question, but
Uh-oh.
why do you think the theater is such a home for being gay, for queer people? I remember I had a friend who came out in college, and he always said that theater, it was like it was like an early place where one could express
I was just going to say that.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's all about expression. You can just express yourself, and you can express it actually through a veil of a different character, which is like kind of weird and meta, but like it's almost like you have armor
Yeah.
while you're expressing yourself. And you get to do something like singing and dancing, which is just kind of, I guess, inherently artistic and feminine and wonderful. But yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think part of this, Russell, my friendship in general, we're just like
Gay?
We're
Gay.
gay. We're gay. That'll be the beautiful end of the podcast. If
Yeah.
finally we said, you
Oh
know
my
what,
God, I
Russell?
would love that.
We're literally doing on the Patreon questions to fall in love
We
to.
are, yeah.
So but there's just, it's just, it's interesting to be a straight person in that space. Growing up, I mean, going to musical theater camp, I've talked about it plenty, but it was just like.
You must have been dating every single girl because you were one of the only straight people. No, not really.
It was just so annoying.
Yeah.
I was just.
I
Honestly, it was more like
You-
it
I
was
feel
so
like you-
frustrating. All the women that like they kind of liked me, but they went with the guy who in a couple years would come out of the closet.
Love it.
And
I
it was
think-
just
I
like I
think-
wish I could go back, run to summer camp, be like, he's gay though, he's gay. Make out with him. All right, bye. I'm gonna go.
I think you would have done better. My
I did
guess.
okay. I did
my
better than I
guess-
would have in regular
My
life.
guess is that you were maybe too focused on the craft and like too focused on being good at musical theater to
my
like
God.
really like be open
really
to
be
that.
straight.
Yeah, you're really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make
Can
sense.
I ask? I don't know how you two met. Was it doing?
It was this show.
Oh, it was the show that you wrote for the guy that did not recognize you. Oh my
That
God, that's
doesn't
so
know who
full
we are.
circle.
Yeah, so we met doing this improv based show, and we did that for like a year, and then we formed the sketch group with these other people, and
And that's Uncle Function, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Shit,
yes,
Amazing.
and yeah, that's how we met.
Wow.
Yeah.
2015.
Oh wow, that's actually kind of
Not-
recent.
no, yeah, not
That's not
that-
too long ago. I
years
thought for
ago.
whatever reason you went way
No,
back.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was playing like
Giovanni.
Giovanni Giovanni.
So Italian, they had to name him twice. That
yeah,
the
he was like a
log
Jersey
line.
Shore character.
This,
Oh,
this
love
was
it.
not theater. This was an
This
abomination.
was not
of
theater.
You're an
This is
Italian Jew. So am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, twist.
But what, do you say matzo pizza, pizza bagel? What do you say?
Neither.
Matzo pizza.
Disdain
Disgust.
for like.
Disdain.
Oh,
All right, let's go on to our next segment.
This has gotta stop.
This has got to stop.
This is gonna stop.
Very nice.
yeah.
No,
For listeners, you see the
no,
singing
no,
voice?
no. That's not an
That's-
indicator of my voice, please.
No.
What's your this has got to stop, Marla?
Your guys's. People
Oh.
that are like, oh, what are your guys' opinions? Or like, your guys' talents. John Riddle from Titanique, I'm looking directly at you. Not to name names, but John Riddle from Titanique, he is always like, your guys's. The concept of making guys's plural to me, and it's just now in our lexicon and everyone says it.
Oh,
is
yeah,
just,
John does do that.
he says it literally all the time, and every time he says it, I'm always like, your guys's. And he's like, oh, God, sorry. So annoying.
So, okay, do you prefer, because sometimes I do, and I think it feels bad to hear where I do y'all.
Y'all is the worst to me.
Okay. But we need something.
Yeah, we need to.
Are you against plurals?
No, yeah.
You got to go one by
Maybe
one?
I am. Maybe
Your
because
guys
it's
is
plurals.
y'alls.
Y'all's
What are
is
y'all's
bad.
plans?
You
No.
all?
But are you from the South?
No.
So what are you doing?
He's just trying to. You're
I'm just trying to not do your guys's. I was just.
okay.
What do you?
I guess I would prefer y'all over your guys's.
I'm trying to think if I do your guys'. Where you guys? Where you guys going?
I would just say, where are you guys going?
Yeah.
It's
What are
more
your
like
guys'? I've definitely said, what are your guys' plans for tonight?
What do you all
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
What do you all think?
What would you say?
What are your-
There's
what are
several
your
guys.
What are your
plans?
plans for?
yeah. What are your plans? What are you all doing tonight?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Pretty
agree.
simple sentences.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
What your guys'
Your guys's.
yeah. John Riddle does do that. That's
All the
so
time.
funny.
But it's not just him. It's just like that's the only one that I can think of right
Just
now.
gotta stop, John Riddle.
John Riddle in general.
Russell, this has got to stop.
Okay, this gotta stop. Putting college graduation papers on your wall. Anyone. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer. Get those off the fucking wall.
You don't want the doctor to have it in the office?
No, absolutely not.
Wait, you mean the diploma?
I trust the building. I walk in. If the
Wow.
building is nice,
Wow.
I'm probably in a good doctor's office. If it's a shitty building, I'm probably in a bad doctor's office. I don't know. I don't need to see their degree. I don't. It's so weird that certain people hang their degrees. I think it's so lame. I just think I don't know what the point of it is. I've never walked into a thing and been like, where did they go? Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
It feels grody. It feels like the only reason you have it on there is to impress someone.
Sure.
I don't know. Or you need to see it every day and be like, I did
did
love
go there.
Syracuse University. You know, like what? I don't know. I just hate
That
it.
if you had been to a respectable
No,
college, your
no,
opinion would be.
no.
Where's your CCM?
What?
Where's your CCM?
CCM? Oh, I
Where's
didn't.
your diploma?
Well, we didn't get our diplomas. We didn't technically graduate because we had to do our senior showcase in New York before graduation. So I don't have that.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I don't know where
That's how
mine
musical
are.
Theater. I am.
I didn't get mine because I didn't return a library book, and they said I had to pay the fee.
Wow.
I
Wow.
said no.
So you're safe with the two of us.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
never
yeah.
see a diploma.
Listen. Everyone can do whatever they want to do. I just think that I respect you less when I see it. No. I just don't like it when I see it. I know that it feels like doctors and lawyers they have to at this point.
I think that might be, if I'm crazy, I mean, LOL, I know nothing about doctors, but I feel like it must be a requirement.
it is funny that it's probably a requirement, and I'm like so mad about it. But I just think it's a dumb requirement. I don't know. I don't like it.
I get
Love
it.
it.
I actually, it's actually more acceptable in a doctor's office or a lawyer's office. It's weird when it's in your house. You ever going out someone's
yeah,
house?
fair.
Oh,
Like a
That's
normal,
completely
like
fair.
a normal
Crazy.
person's house.
Yeah, no.
And they just have their
Have
degree.
you?
Oh yeah.
What?
You've never seen someone have
Not
their
in a
degree
house.
on a house?
Not
No,
in a
only
house.
in an office setting.
Oh, I've seen it.
Your
Where? In what room? The kitchen?
I'm not gonna. I'm just saying.
The kitchen or the
Not the kitchen.
office?
It'd be like an office or like a
Oh.
or like a.
Sure.
Okay, see, we're all like trying to figure out.
Yeah, no, that
I
makes
just
sense.
something about it. I don't know. I think it's akin to me of like people that are really still into college. The college they went to, the football team there.
Sure.
And I'm like, you went 20 years ago. Why do you care? You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. A college is so lame. Is I guess my whole thing
Uh-huh.
that anyone that thinks that they are
God.
still proud of
Thank
it.
God we don't have any.
Colleges have to stop.
Yeah.
Honestly, go off.
Thank God we don't have any sports fans listeners
Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
podcast. I know this for a fact. This has got to stop. A little specific, but I do think a big picture. Ultimately, we did a live episode with a wrestler named Bobby Orlando, and we referenced there's another independent wrestler on the scene right now. His name is Luigi Primo, and when he wrestles, he makes pizza dough with one hand the whole time. I know.
Stop it. Like
it's
to
musical
distract?
theater. Musical
Yeah, it's
wrestling
razzle-dazzle.
is musical theater
Yeah.
for people who can't come out of the closet until way later in life.
Sure.
Yeah.
And this video, it was doing well on TikTok, and someone commented like, "It's funny, but I don't know if you guys know, Luigi Primo is anti-vax." Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine the independent wrestler who makes dough in one hand is anti-vax. That yes, I imagine you're right. Big whoop, like this idea of like, oh, so we can't talk about the
We can't
person.
watch this
There's
clip.
a lot of entertaining
I see.
people out there. I can no
Also,
longer.
we weren't pro this man. We were telling us
We're not
funny.
pro this man.
We were
and who
making
the-
fun of
who the fuck cares?
the character.
We don't even need to. This is neither or. There's a lot of anti-vax people out there. We can't like point it out every time as like we can't even talk about the person, or in order to bring up the person, we have to mention this fact. I promise that plenty of the celebrities you love are secretly anti-vax, and they're not telling you, and they got on the set because they're rich and
Ooh.
famous enough.
Ooh.
It's just a reality of like this idea of like. Okay, like what am I supposed to say? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We should say, hey, before we show you the wrestler spinning pizza dough,
Yeah.
just so you know, he's not exactly he's not
Yeah.
fully on board with the medical. He has a couple thoughts that it's just the idea. To me, it connects to this concept of you want everyone to be pure of thought. And you're lying if you think everyone is.
Right.
And you're just going to be disappointed. And ultimately, what you're going to foster is a bunch of liars.
Sure.
People who will just lie about multiple other beliefs. I mean, talk about that article that I referenced earlier, which I won't say in this place just because it feels harsh, where people there's so many liars out there. And when you create this idea of like, I can't even post a video sharing a clip of an indie wrestler you don't even know without pointing out this. It's just a weird thing that ultimately I think makes you not participate with the world as it is.
Yeah.
You
Right.
pass 10 anti-vaxxers on the way to the train.
Yeah.
It's just a weird way of
You're not
putting it.
endorsing anti-vax,
Just
by enjoying a video.
discussing the person,
Yeah.
or you don't gain any points by saying it, or whatever. It was just a
It's very-
weird
yeah.
impulse that people have, where as if we then are all supposed to go, oh,
Yeah.
really?
Also, going along the lines of I guess
If it was a video of Luigi Primo saying, don't take the vaccine.
No.
Yeah, I'm not going to share that video.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is different.
also, but to go along with people commenting on the clips, because these clips,
Guys, Russell's reading every comment.
I'm not reading every
multiple
comment, but I
times.
read some, and let me tell you, the classic one from one of the recent clips is that you've edited the clips are edited, people. The clips are edited. So anyone in the comments being like, would have loved to hear the end of her story if that guy didn't cut in, about me with the whole thing with Paige. We did hear that. If you listen to the whole episode, you hear the story. But Gianmarco edits. It's edited.
So our producer was on. We did a solo episode, and the producer set up a story about you struggling being a Japanese person at a mostly white school. And the edit made it seem like she said, I was once called a slur in school, and then it cuts to us
And then
going
I
like,
go,
oh, I have a
"I got
story
something to
about
say."
that. But here's the thing.
But anyone who, any normal sane person watches it and be like, because it's very clearly this has been an edited
Like,
clip.
chop, chop, chop,
Like,
yeah.
and but there's people in there being like, would have loved to hear that in her story. It's like, well, you still can, you dumb fucking idiot. Go listen on Spotify. You can listen to the whole goddamn thing. And like, it's just like this thing of like, I would have liked to get everything all right now, right in my finger. Like you could still do it with like just 3 more seconds of like curiosity. You could still get there.
Can I
don't know.
talk for a second?
No.
But
Another thing.
but Paige Asachica, our wonderful producer, she titles the videos online, and the video was like Gianmarco Soresi and Russell Daniels, The Downside, and someone commented like, oh, so I guess the Asian woman doesn't get a name, and she commented, she said, as the Asian woman who wrote the title, there was a character limit.
Yeah.
So look,
Wow, mine pales in comparison to the two
Sorry,
of yours.
we're
Your
spiraling.
guys'
listen,
Beta
you guys
vaccines.
has got to stop with these comments. Final segment.
You better count
Ooh,
your blessings.
okay.
You better count your blessing. I'll start, and we got to do our joke today. It's been so long since we fucking had you. Okay, Russell, thanks for the enthusiasm. Tova told me this thing recently. It hasn't been successful, but she admitted to me that twice now, if we were at an event where there was like if there was a famous person there, she would submit. Twice she submitted to Dumois, saying the famous person and Gianmarco Soresi were both seen at such and such event, trying to get one of the posts with my name in it.
Yeah.
And it didn't succeed.
That is
But
so
she told
funny.
me that she did that twice, and I thought that's very
That's very
that's
sweet.
very sweet.
Yeah.
And one day.
Yeah.
It's really, really funny.
Is that cute?
Celebrity and you.
And you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Maybe I'll start doing that for you too. Before I do my thing, I want to see how many people from Titanic are listening. So I'm gonna
It's literally just my parents.
I was gonna give Marla a fuck, marry, kill, and put only Titanic people.
Oh, I love it.
Connie, Carrie, Courtney.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna marry Connie.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna fuck Carrie, and I'm gonna kill Courtney. Courtney's my girlfriend. Courtney's my
Okay.
girlfriend.
Okay. Just one. That's for anyone.
What I experienced just now must be what it's like to listen to this episode and not know anything about musical.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
That was all a
It's
joke.
just so funny
That's all
to
a joke.
watch the level of laughter and just be like,
I know. I'm so sorry.
know.
What a
No,
bad
no,
I
no.
just
inside
wanted to
joke.
really just.
That's really good.
Yeah, I just
my
wanted to-
parents will love that.
Yeah. One time I said something about. I was talking about. It was when Rose was on, and I said something about. I was complaining kind of about.
You got it. You got it.
I can't even get into it. Anyway, someone did listen, and they the next day
the sound.
at
It was the
Titanic.
sound. That they-
Oh yes, it was the sound thing. Basically, every time I'd come off stage from Ruth doing a freak out, she'd be like, she would sometimes be like, "Oh, that crowd today, not as great, right?" And I'd be like, "I know," like I would be like, "I don't need to hear it," like
Right,
you know.
right.
Anyways, I did that, and then she's like, "I heard you mention me on the podcast."
Oh my God,
And I was like, it was deep within.
You'd have to listen to
Anyways.
the entire thing. Wow, that's really.
Anyways,
really
but I
funny.
think someone I was obviously because Ross was on. But anyways,
Right.
my blessing is I don't know. It was a really nice weekend. Getting to do that and a lot of so many lovely things. People sending messages, things. My parents came for the first preview, which was very sweet. So I just feel really lucky. I feel everyone involved in the show has been so nice and welcoming and like so enthusiastic, and I just feel grateful to have gone from a show that I really love to another show where I'm like feel
You love more. Okay.
no
No, it just paid more.
no, but like just appreciated and everyone's been so kind, and so it's been nice
Oh.
to sometimes you're in shows and you're like oof, but it's been really nice.
Oh, good.
So,
I'm so glad.
I feel lucky.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Well, changing your life.
Yes.
That's my. That's
I'm.
my
Oh,
blessing. No,
listen.
I'm kidding.
No. Oh my God. Though I should say, Marla, you did change. Marla. I mean,
We got drunk after
my
Broadway
God.
sings, and we were like,
Oh,
"Oh
we
my
did.
God, this is
we
so
were so
crazy."
drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone kept interrupting us as we were trying to have a moment.
Yeah.
The food runners were like, "Excuse me, cheeseburgers." We're like,
Yeah.
I love you. I love you too.
I know. But Marla, you really did change my life. I mean, like
Well, you changed mine.
I mean-
honestly, both of our lives changed.
both of our
because-
lives changed,
because
but
of each other.
it is wild because not a lot was going on before Titanic. I'll
Oh
tell
well,
you
for both of us. It is,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
10 years of absolutely nothing for me.
Yeah,
You were on this podcast.
that's so
so
true.
true. That's so
Gianmarco.
true.
That's so true.
Thank you to the podcast. I'm going to. Well, you know what's so funny in the email? It was like it shouldn't. Whatever this segment is, it shouldn't be like very actually
Music.
grateful. But actually, you both
No.
said very grateful things.
Oh no.
No,
Maybe
no,
we need
no.
to look at how it's phrased. It's more just like sometimes people
Sometimes
go,
you're like, I'm
thankful
air."
for family. And it's like,
Oh,
that's
right,
not
right. Okay.
interesting.
Okay.
So it can be like, it's just specificity. God
Okay.
is in the details.
I got it. This past weekend, I went to Angel's Share with my sisters to try to get a cocktail, and it was like she was like, the lady was like, "I'm so sorry, we don't have a wait. We don't have a list, so it could be anywhere from like 30 minutes to 3 hours. But you have to like kind of wait here and just see. And if you leave, then like you lose your place." And we were like, "Actually, you guys can all go fuck yourselves."
Yeah.
And we went to Bar Pisolino across the street, which is right across the street from Via Carrata, and the hostess there, I think her name was Amy. She got my sisters a table. She was so kind. So literally, thank you to Amy. It was the best
Amy.
cocktails of my life. Go to Bar Pisolino. This is the plug right here, right now.
Oh, yeah.
We got
Oh.
so wasted on her drinks that we actually asked her if we could have a hug at the end.
Oh my
So,
God! Wow,
yeah.
that is
So
Marla
it's-
wasted.
you said, yeah, in the details, those are my details. Bar Pisolino.
That's wonderful. We haven't done the segment in a bit. So if you're a member of the Patreon, your name is going to flash across the screen
Ooh.
while Russell reads some jokes from this joke book.
One
I
joke.
got a new. It's gonna be it's short.
Okay.
I did get a new joke book that I think is gonna be a little more elevated
Okay.
than these one. This is from a Ford Howard Stern. These are street jokes that Russell wrote. And
No, did
patrons,
not.
if you join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside, for just $5 a month, you can support the podcast. You get live episodes, bonus episodes. We're starting to release one a month starting in October. And your name is going to flash right now. Read this one right here. Feel free to do
Okay.
accents.
Man.
IPA.
A Chinese guy, a Russian guy, an American guy, and a Jewish guy are sitting on a park bench. A pollster comes up to them and says, "Excuse me, what's your opinion on the meat shortage?" The Chinese guy says, "What's an opinion?" The Russian says, "What's meat?" The American says, "What's a shortage?" And the Jewish guy says, "What's excuse me?" I don't get that one.
You don't get that one.
No.
Okay.
Usually you try to give me these anti-Semitic jokes, though. So explain
I think
it to
this was
me.
offensive 4 different ways. You just didn't even realize it.
Okay.
I also
the-
didn't realize it.
Okay,
but
so
I
the Chinese
kinda
person doesn't
clocked
have an
out.
opinion because in China you're not allowed to have an opinion. Is
Oh,
essentially what I'm saying.
okay.
The Russian doesn't know what meat is because in Russia there's like not food or
I
they
get
just
it
have
now.
vodka.
Okay.
The American says, "What's a shortage?" because the Americans
We
are pigs.
eat a lot.
And then the Jew, which I noticed you seem to really enjoy saying that one. The Jew says, "What's excuse me?" Meaning like we're just rude.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
I don't
interrupt.
think of Jewish people that way.
Yeah, because you're usually interrupting Japanese women. So again, join the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. You really are supporting the podcast. And everywhere I go, even Bloomington, they come out and they say, "I'm a big fan of the Downside." And I lie to them. I say, "One day I'll get Russell out here." And when I say it in
Yeah,
San
you
Francisco,
lie to them
I
in
mean it.
Bloomington.
But when I say it in Bloomington, Russell's never coming to Bloomington. In fact, I might never come to Bloomington ever again, given what happened. No, you guys are all great. This episode is coming out October 10th. So unfortunately, if you didn't see Gutenberg, it's too late. It closed 2 weeks ago.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Wait, plugs.
Plugs.
You're about to do
That's
that.
why I said the date.
Okay.
You
Sorry.
understand?
Sorry.
It doesn't really close October 10th, does it?
No.
Okay, good.
January
the joke
28th.
was that it's going to close early.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not even going to make it past.
Just not going to make it to opening.
Not going to make it to opening. It's going to become the Spider-Man
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
So Marla, is there anything you want to plug?
Obviously, Titanique. I mean, that's the only thing I have in my
Yeah.
life right now. So go see Titanique.
Are you ever visiting it, doing it again? Go to London.
I believe the answer to all of those things are yes and yes, but there are no concrete details. But I would imagine in the Titanic multiverse, you will see me for years to come. You'll see me until I'm probably friggin' 80 years old. But you can see it now off-Broadway at the Dale Roth, TitaniqueMusical.com, get tickets, and then you can just follow me at Marla Mindelle, and I'll tell you when I'm performing it again, if ever.
Yes.
I want to go once this show's opened. I want to go on a Sunday
we should.
night.
We should. Okay, I haven't seen it.
And like sometime in October. Let's
do it.
Yeah.
Would love that.
Great. Russell, what do you want to plug?
Sometimes I'll be doing Gutenberg in a very minimal way. Obviously, I'll post on social if I'm ever doing it in a more way. But follow me on Instagram at Russell J. Daniels. October. I don't think I have anything else. Oh, there's going to be an Uncle Function show in November, but I don't have the date right now. So
Ooh, fun.
Sure. If you see Josh Gad on the street, just cough in his general direction.
No,
Let's get Russell. I'm
no,
just kidding. We
no.
love you, Josh. We love you, Josh. Let Russell do one. That would be fun.
no, stop saying any of these things.
I will be at Scottsdale, Arizona, October 12th through 14th. And then Zanies, Chicago, October 19th, 20th, and 21st, coming out to Zanies. And then the Milwaukee Improv, October 22nd, where I will be seeing Douglas Goodhart do a matinee in Milwaukee. And then I'll be headlining Milwaukee for the first time, October 22nd. And otherwise, yous guys.
Your guys'
You guys' just have fun, because one day you guys is gonna die. This is the downside.
You're listening to The Downside
The Downside.
with Gianmarco Soresi.
Tell him, Russell.
Subscribe to The Downside right now.
Where?
Down here. Or here. We don't know, but just do it.
Or also, what else could they do?
They can follow the Patreon. They can subscribe to the Patreon.
No!
Sorry.
Patreon.com/downside.
Too much pressure.